Why I decided to join, volunteer over in the Ukraine, why I'm going over there to fight, why I think it's a good cause. Everybody should take the call the motherland, go and fight the Russians. Today's video, right, situation, what's getting worse in Ukraine. I don't know, maybe watch this in the future and everything's going to be great and then fine. I'm just going to give you a little background on the Russian situation in Russia. I'm going to look at things from Russia's perspective. I'm going to explain Russia's perspective. I'm not defending what Russia's done. They've invaded the Ukraine. Am I worried? Yeah, I am worried. I never really get worried. Not the type to get worried. I didn't get worried like the Rona. Don't worry about that. That was absolutely hysterical nonsense. Total overreaction. Before they shut down everything. 2 years ago they shut down all society because of this drug, the Rona. And the Russians, this is the future. The Russians. I'm trying to explain the Russians. Why they feel they deserve more power, more influence, deserve to be more significant in the world, deserve to be more significant power. I was back primarily to World War II, Germans, Nazi Germany, and the Russians taking them on. Back then, 1939, 1940, 1941. 3 weeks actually, 3 weeks, Hitler managed to defeat France and Britain. Well, these are two major superpowers at the time. You know, I know they took the bad after World War I. These are still major powers. 3 weeks. World War I took 4 years and they still defeat. In 3 weeks, Hitler conquered all of Europe. All of Europe. He conquered all of Europe. France, Britain, even Italy and Spain had joined in against the Germans. Nazi Germany. Still wouldn't have stopped. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, all of Europe, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, and then they went into Russia, USSR at the time. They almost got there. They got to 20 miles to Moscow, took all of Poland, Lithuania, the Baltic States, Estonia, all of Ukraine. They got all the way to Moscow, 20 miles. A few months. And they almost defeated everybody in Europe. Completely crushed everybody in Europe, all the other major powers. Total control. And the only thing standing between them now was Russia. And the sacrifices Russia had to make to beat the Germans, to beat Nazi Germany. Oh my God. I mean, nobody suffered like they did. Nobody took them on like they did. All the other countries just surrendered. Brits, they went run at Dunkirk. French, no way, we fight these guys. The Russians had no choice really. It was just such an almost genocidal war that the Germans participated in. They had to fight. Fight or die. This is a creaky place to do to record this. I'm just going to continue on here. Field back there is a bit nervous about this bike. Because I'm out in the middle of nowhere and someone takes it, I'm in trouble. Right, so what kind of sacrifice? What kind of sacrifice did the Russians make? What kind of sacrifice did the Russians make? Whatever grade this is, maybe the Russian soldier, I don't know. What kind of sacrifice did they make in World War I? World War II, sorry. Massive, absolutely massive. I mean, the numbers are staggering. The numbers are staggering. Berlin, Battle of Berlin alone, 1 million people. 1 million of the Red Army died in the Battle of Berlin. That's how bad that war was. That's how severe it was. Mr. H said, a war like this, doesn't have to do. There are no civilians in this war. That's how intense it was. That's how brutal the fighting was. battles, France, Battle of Britain. That was nothing. Like the Battle of Britain, that was a ruse against Stalin. That was just a trick him into thinking, you know, I'm not interested in Russia. I'm only interested in Britain. Yeah. Germany went straight through, not straight through into Russia. Stalin didn't have a clue what's going on, all the way from Moscow. A few months. The next few years, 1941, 45, we got the most brutal war in history at that time. Nothing like it. The sacrifice Russia made is huge. Not millions and millions and millions of soldiers died, millions taken prisoners. Horrible war. But they won. They did the unthinkable. The Germans had defeated everybody, the Russians had defeated them. The Russians pushed them all the way back to Moscow, back to Berlin. Massive losses. Won the Battle of Stalingrad. They held out Leningrad for 900 days. 900 days. A siege of 900 days. The sacrifice they made was massive. Stalingrad, these crazy battles of Stalingrad, like small squad of guys, like 12 soldiers in a bread meal thing or something like that, holding back the whole of the Wehrmacht. So yeah, it was a crazy battle to take for that battle, the first biggest tank battle ever. The Russians won them all. Held down Leningrad, they won the Stalingrad, they won the battle of, well, the battle of Kursk, no, they won. The Germans wanted a major crush to the Red Army. Red Army, the Russians battled against the Germans. That was it, they won, and they became a superpower. They became a superpower then. They're all that blood, it's millions and millions and millions of people. Then the famines that they had. And the Germans there were planning an even worse famine than what Stalin did. You know, we're talking 80 million people if you had won that war. Yeah, it's massive. Even you take in civilians and soldiers and everything, I don't know, 5 to 7 million people. That's huge. So the Russians are, the way they say things, they should be a superpower. They should be a superpower. And they sort of were. They had USSR, Poland, Lithuania, all that, Ukraine, down to Pakistan, and all those other places. And they were the biggest country. Still are, Russia still are the biggest country. They were a superpower. Then Gorbachev comes along in the 1980s, things started to fall apart. Gorbachev, I think he wants to be remembered as a good, rational statesman. He wants to go down in history, decent guy, you know, dealt with Chernobyl, the nuclear thing there. He brought down the Russian Empire, the USSR. Did it peacefully, without bloody battles, just dismantled slowly. A lot of people, especially the KGB, Putin, how it shouldn't have happened. They don't understand why Russia gave up all this power away. They see it to the United States. Yeah, the United States took on the Germans too. They came in, but they did it with time. I mean, the battles on the West are tiny compared to what happened on the East. The East, that is a war. That is a real war. The Brits and the French after Dunkirk. This is the Brits. This is the Brits in World War II. Few little battles in the Netherlands. That's it. That's it. Few little battles. Yeah, these other things like break the codes and all that sort of stuff. The radar inventions. That's not really military. And then, of course, the other military thing they were involved in was carpet bombing in places like Dresden. So yeah, they didn't do too good in that war, the Brits. Didn't like being totally defeated in 3 weeks. 3 weeks by the Germans. Yeah, the Stalin took them on, the Russians took them on, the Russian people stood up, and they won. And it took a lot of effort, and they had all that power, and then Gorbachev comes along, dismantled the USSR. There was no reason for them to do it. They were still the biggest army in the world, they're still the biggest country, they're totally self-sufficient as a country, they've got the biggest oil, gas reserves, they produce most of the world's wheat. They're a mega power. They should be a mega power, and they weren't treated like that. They got Yeltsin was a terrible leader, neoliberal years, they started selling off their gas and their economy collapsed. It shouldn't have happened. And the West, the United States of America, they just be sort of humiliated. Expanding NATO. NATO shouldn't exist. Why does NATO exist? I don't know. After the USSR, NATO was created to deal with the USSR. Until the USSR collapses, or dismantled, better way to put it, by Gorbachev. know, it's a decent guy and all, but maybe we should have been thinking more about the future. Maybe we should have been thinking about more radical nationalist Russians. Of course, people say Boris Yeltsin was a nationalist, yeah, but maybe they've misread the situation with the United States. Maybe they thought, you know, open up trade with them, going neoliberal, going democratic. It didn't happen. Then Putin got the power, and he wants that empire back. He wants that power back. He wants Russia to be a major power. He thinks Russia deserves it. They earned it in World War II. They made the sacrifice. They're the dominant power of Russia in Europe. What they did against Mr. H took on that empire, tells them you're right. They defeated it, they crushed it, sacrificed millions. Then they've been humiliated after the USSR collapsed. Not given the respect they deserve. That's why they're going into Ukraine. Now if I worry, yeah. I'm not worried about the I'm going to know more. I'm more worried about things like food shortages, oil, gas price, what that's going to do to food, inflation, what's going to come. Maybe this war's over in a few weeks, maybe it's over in a few years. It could get bad. Looks to me as the Russians are going to fight this the way the Americans fought all their wars. They got away with it, nobody complained. Well, some people did, but not the way Russians are being complained about. They invaded $1 trillion war, Iraq, $1 trillion war. The Russians are going to fight it the way the Americans did, cowardly. From the air, civilian casualties, but low casualties for the Russian soldiers. You know, to deal with the horrors of having to actually shooting somebody. It's not easy to do it going by wire sort of thing. You know, just some guy with a joystick or whatever flying a plane. Pew, 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 pew. There's 50 people there. It's like playing a computer game. It's like playing his Xbox. Yeah, it's going to fight the way the Russians are going to fight. Then when they start taking all these places, it's really good to start getting bogged down. Anyway, that's the Russian perspective on this situation, just to give some analysis of why, how the Russians view things, what should have happened to Ukraine, should have been brought into the EU. We don't know why it wasn't. This whole NATO expansion thing, NATO should be gone. Some people, and then you get the curse, of course, people come to here and say, oh, well, Russians are invading Ukraine, of course, you know, of course NATO shouldn't be. NATO was a deal with the USSR, not Russia. Right? And the sphere of influence of NATO, the Americans, the American Empire, American imperialism, is a thing, of course it is. Eastwardly, toward Russia, more and more a threat to Russia. Russia are a country who defeated the nation of Nazi Germany. Guys who defeated Britain and France in 3 weeks. Nobody could have took them on. They took over all of Europe. Mr. H conquered all of Europe. The Russians had to do it. The Russians were the ones who made that sacrifice, took it on, and they think, because of that, they should be a much more significant power. Not the United States. The United States, you know, we know how they won World War. You know, their war with Japan, that was a much bigger battle for them. You know they won it. Yeah, they cheated. Dropped the bloody cowards. Dropped the bomb. 100,000 people gone. A-bomb. Not how you win a war. Not how you win a war. But I'm going to end this today. It's getting late. Nice little spot. This grave is creepy. It's really, really old. Really old grave. 1929. Some of these ones here. This is the old Ardla cemetery. There's an old well down there. I don't know what it's called. This place is ancient. I mean, that's probably the newest grave here. No one's been buried here in a while. See how old this person is here. Memory of Patrick Power. Yeah, that's where we are, Milverton. I don't know what that means. I don't know what Milverton means. Died 13th January 1949. There we are, back to World War II. 74 years old. He was 40 years employed by the Woods family. Wife Bridget died 7th of April 1917. Imagine that. He's 32. Their son Thomas died here 1991, 80. Imagine being that son living all those years. There's his parents. All these other ones, these tiny little ones, these go back to, these are like 14th, 13th. I actually think I saw a ghost when I came in here first. It wouldn't surprise me if it was haunted. Like, they're so old, the inscriptions are worn off. Alright, that's today's video.